There's something that I want to ask you to sort of give us a correction on, John Brennan, because it seems like since the Oval Office ambush, there's been almost a simplistic analysis on the part of people like me. I'll carve Michael Crowley out of this, doing this simplistic version that to simply step away from Ukraine and toward Putin is a 1-1 on the NATO ally side and 1+1 on the Putin adversary side. It seems that Trump plus Putin does not equal 2. It equals whatever Putin says it equals. And I wonder, we've talked a lot, and McConnell's trying to get at this. He calls it, quote, the beginning of a rather different kind of administration. It's not an administration where we realign America from our allies to our enemies. It feels like it's an administration that gets sucker punched by people who have no American national security interests in mind. What does that look like?
Well, I think it just demonstrates the lack of experience that Donald Trump has in terms of dealing with these issues. I get the image of Vladimir Putin driving the car and Trump in the back seat, not knowing that he's not in the front seat. Because I think what Putin has been able to do quite skillfully is to continue to play to Trump's interests, which is to flatter him and to make him feel as though he's going along with what Trump wants to do. Clearly, everybody wants peace. But there's no way that Vladimir Putin is going to be giving up what his initial and ultimate ambition is, which is to take over a good part of Ukraine's territory, but also to topple the Zelensky government. He doesn't want a democracy to thrive on his border. That was the whole purpose early on, to prevent that and to prevent Ukraine from continuing to look westward as far as the EU and NATO and security guarantees. So again, I think Trump is carrying out these negotiations in a very ad hoc fashion. And I'm sure that some of his advisors wonder what exactly Trump has in mind in terms of what the outcome is going to look like. But I think in the coming days and weeks, we're going to see just how difficult this journey is going to be as far as negotiations. And as President Zelensky said, how can you have negotiations when one of the countries involved, the Ukrainians, are being kept out of these discussions? The fact that the United States and Russia are involved in these bilateral negotiations about the war in Ukraine is ludicrous. But again, I think Putin is leveraging it for all it's worth, and Trump is just being, again, played.
Charlie, there's a lot of, I think, elevation of Trump's political skill set, and none reveals the limits of his political powers more clearly than the polling on Ukraine. 61% of all Americans are much more sympathetic to Ukraine. And even among MAGA Republicans, the best Trump can get at is 57% of Republicans saying they're neutral. He has not persuaded even his most ardent supporters that Russia is the good guy in the equation. And he gave away everything. When he talked about Putin as a guy he's basically been in group therapy with, he said, quote, "We've been through a lot together, the Russia hoax, end quote. I mean, to talk about him like he's like a buddy in a group therapy session or co-victims showed Putin that he doesn't see him even as an equal. He sees him as a sympathetic ear to all that bedevils him emotionally. It is the most flagrant display of personal and political weakness of his entire second presidency.
And frankly, there's nothing new about it. Mitch McConnell says we're seeing a new kind of presidency, but this relationship is not new, and it's been characterized by Donald Trump's refusal ever to criticize Vladimir Putin. He continues to make one concession after another. Putin makes no concession whatsoever. I don't know what Trump expected was going to happen, but one of Putin's big victories was to get one-on-one negotiations with Donald Trump, be able to play upon his ego and those weaknesses. Because Donald Trump's negotiating skills, I think, despite all the hype, are notoriously weak because he is so susceptible to flattery. And the fact that they apparently included some references to U.S.-Russia hockey games. You could just, the lack of seriousness there. But just keep in mind, though, that Vladimir Putin has made no concessions. We have demanded no concessions from him. He continues to play Donald Trump. And as long as Trump remains personally engaged, it's advantage Putin. Now, you cited the poll numbers, the sympathy that Americans have with Ukraine. Imagine how Americans will see the defeat of Ukraine. Imagine if we do get that headline that Russia succeeds in conquering Ukraine and toppling the Zelensky administration. We know what the Afghanistan pullout did to Joe Biden's numbers, but I think that this would be catastrophically worse.
Such a